Hey, welcome back to Artists Exposed with Tym Moss. I am Tym Moss. It's been quite a while, but it is time to bring Artists Exposed with Tym Moss back. Now, by artist, I mean anyone with a creative mind, with an open mind, anybody who is creatively living, which includes, of course, musicians and singers and actors and painters, but also people in business, people in politics, which is who we have on today. A very dear friend of mine from outside of Philadelphia in Chicane, Pennsylvania, Jess Branas. I love Jess Branas, and she is a Democrat in Chicane. She is also an author. She's written several books about dating in the LGBT community, which I desperately need help with. She is a former teacher. She has one of the most popular podcasts in Philadelphia, and a PR and marketing specialist. And she just recently announced her candidacy for Upper Darby Township Council in the November 7th, 2023 general election. She is the current district director for Pennsylvania's 163rd legislative district under Representative Heather Boyd. Please welcome my dear friend, Jess Branas.
Hey, Tim, how are you, sir? I missed you.
I miss you too. How are you doing?
Well, since you were here last, a month and a half ago, I've been very busy. That was like my last relaxing weekend that I've had.
I can imagine. Because once you announce campaign, it's on, off to the races.
It's on, and I'm a little bit late. I actually am taking over for the person who won the primary election, and he had to withdraw. So the committee appointed me to carry on the race. So yeah, so it's been a very big whirlwind for the past 2 weeks.
Right, but if anyone can handle it, you can handle it. You can handle it. Now we're recording this right after Labor Day, so we both have here in New York and in Philadelphia like heat wave. So
yes,
don't take your pool down just yet.
No, you know what? It was funny because I was going to take it down last week. And then I always look ahead, and maybe that was like the teacher in me, because we would always in September look ahead to the winter forecast to see when we think we would be having off. And I saw that it was going to be in the 90s all week. So it is still up. I just took a dip before we got on. And but it will come down this coming weekend. It's going to get cold after this.
Yes, absolutely. But okay, well, let's talk some Jess Branas. How about that?
Do it to it, man.
Well, why don't, firstly, there is a place that people can donate to your campaign, correct?
Correct.
Let me just put that up there.
Perfect.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyone that wishes to, they can donate at this link that is listed below.
Yeah. And it's very important, like, when it comes to even local races, and one of the reasons why I love doing this and being on here with you is that right now, whether it's in local government, state government, or federal government, we need more LGBTQ plus representation. And the gentleman who I am taking over for this race, he was also LGBT. Which may be the perfect person to replace him, because we need all the help we can get. So if you are LGBTQIA to Z plus, or even an ally, make sure you donate, because we need to flip the seat. I'll be the first person to flip the seat in the history. I'll be the first LGBT councilwoman.
Yes.
For this particular township, and this township is the 6th largest municipality in the state of Pennsylvania, but it is the largest township in the state of Pennsylvania. So this is actually a big race.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, you've just answered all the questions that I had written.
I'm sorry.
No, but yes, back to LGBT. Our dear friend Nathan James had given me some interesting statistics. The Victory Institute, which they support and list all of the elected officials that are LGBT across the country. Right now, in our total population, the LGBT community is at about 7 or 7.2% of our entire population. Right now, LGBT elected officials are only at 0.2%.
Mhm.
of all elected officials. That's everything from your local judge up to the Congress or the presidency.
Mhm.
Now that is a ridiculous percentage. We do need to get more, and hopefully through this, more people in the LGBT community will consider running. That's what we need.
Absolutely.
We need more voices in our community.
We need more LGBT, we need more women, we need more minorities.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's time that no matter what level of government, it looks like us. It looks like the community. It looks like
Right.
the neighborhoods. It looks like the United States.
Right. I agree. I agree completely. Now, you are originally from Pennsylvania.
Correct. So
Uh-huh.
I grew up in Lancaster,
Okay.
Pennsylvania, which is
Mhm.
an extremely Republican county.
Uh-huh.
Thankfully, my parents live in the only Democratic part of the county, which is great. Um, and I went to University of Pittsburgh for my undergrad. I did my graduate work at Millersville. I lived in Miami, Florida for a little bit. So I've pretty much been all over the state throughout my years.
Wonderful. So
Mhm.
you have an insight to different areas and different municipalities.
Right, absolutely. And with this, what I hope would happen, excuse me, because we are the largest township in the state, I hope certain initiatives that we can start and bring together will allow other townships and municipalities going through the same
Mhm.
issues be able to not have to reinvent the wheel.
Uh-huh. Right. Exactly. Now you're in Upper Darby, which is in Delaware County,
Mhm.
just outside of Philadelphia. It runs
Yeah,
along the border of Philadelphia.
yeah. Mhm.
And District 2, that runs up to, what is it, Montgomery County?
No, no, that's the state. So that's the state legislative district. So the state
Okay.
legislative districts really cover different areas. So District 2 for the local district runs probably from my area to a little bit west of me. It's probably like maybe a 10-12 mile radius, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we have 11 different districts for
Okay.
the city council. So there are 11 council people.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd be the third woman.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. The third woman on the council.
The third woman in this particular council. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Out of how many? Out of 11?
Out of 11.
Okay, yeah. Well, again, you're still helping to raise those percentages.
Hmm.
That's again how one person can make such a difference.
Absolutely. Surprisingly, I'm not going to be the only Jew.
Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly, I am not. There is one already, and he's wonderful. I mean, most of the people on there I've known already. I did work for the council during COVID.
Uh-huh.
During COVID when everything was shut down, especially in our area, and I'm sure, I mean, obviously in New York this happened too. People were trying to sustain life. The stimulus packages didn't help much.
Right.
So they had set up job fairs, but they had to be virtual.
Mm.
And with me, with podcasting, I had all the equipment and all the know how to manage those. So I started doing that for them during the pandemic.
Wow. Nice.
Hmm.
So you've always kind of been community oriented,
Oh, listen, I was a teacher. You can't be
right?
more. You
Right.
can't be more community oriented than that. Yeah, no, I
Absolutely.
I love it. I mean, like I look at things like how I was raised and where I was raised.
Hmm.
And my neighborhood kind of reminds me of that, and my neighbors especially remind me of that, but it's a different world now.
Hmm.
You don't have things such as a lot of, community policing. Like back in the day, if I
Right.
was roaming around, I'd be in the neighborhood with my friends and every parent knew every kid and
Ex-
everybody looked out for everybody. We don't see that
Absolutely.
anymore,
Right. Right.
you
And I
know?
kind of miss that,
Mhm.
like just again, everybody taking care of everybody else. That was
Yeah.
such a lovely concept.
Mhm. Yeah, we're missing a lot of that now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been, several years,
Mhm.
and I can probably pinpoint, and I'm sure you can
Yep.
too, when
Yep.
major changes started happening. But,
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna say the name, but we know who it is. You know.
But so you had mentioned like flipping the seat. Now it's currently held by a Republican, and he's
Correct.
decided not to run again.
She is retiring.
I'm sorry, she is.
Yeah, yeah. So she's female. She was a Republican. She is retiring. This has always been a Republican held seat. So yeah, so this is the first time it'll be flipping.
Wow. And then you're going to be running against Nicholas Voigt Jr., who is a Republican, and it seems to be his first time running for office, from what we could tell.
Yeah, from what we can tell, yes. There's not a lot of information on him. I'm not worried about it. I'm just knocking on doors and finding out what's best for the community and what they care about.
That's what I love about Jess Branas, is she will go out, and that's the whole purpose, is to find out who your represented and what their needs are.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I do that at work, and this is the same way to do it, which is great. And obviously, like, you see how I care about Nacho. You know, Nacho loves his Uncle Tim.
Yeah.
And I care about my neighbors the same way. And everybody in my district is my neighbor.
Absolutely.
You know? And it's funny because, you know, I was thinking about this because when you had texted me that we were doing this tonight, and I was not aware that we were doing this tonight. And I was worried because yesterday my eye was swollen.
Oh, no.
And I'm bringing this up because a lot of people go in and they're like, oh, I'm going to be the council person. I'm going to be this, you know, title or that title. I'm just your neighbor, because I was worried that my eye was still going to be swollen. I was the first person outside yesterday. I was holding a bag outside for all my neighbors to see of broccoli over my eye because I was weed whacking in my front yard between my driveway and my brick border. And I didn't have glasses on, and usually I do it in swimming goggles, which makes me even look more crazy. But I didn't have anything on. A big rock came and pelted me in the eye yesterday.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and my eyelid's all cut up. Thank God you can't see it now. But
no, it looks great. Yeah, it looks fine now.
But me running for council, you're still gonna see me doing that.
Right.
You know, like,
again, that's what I love about you, is you're everybody. You know, you're just an everyday person. You know, and living your life and doing what you have to do. You just happen to be representing that district.
Absolutely.
And, so let's get into a few of the policies here. So I know let's talk public safety. I know that's one of your policies. The quality of life issues, like fireworks, for example. You mentioned Nacho, which is your dog, your pit/lab combo, and he's a rescue. You would rescue him, which I love.
Big boy.
Yeah, he's a big guy, but yet you set those fireworks off. That poor thing is terrorized.
Yeah, and it happens more in the summer. But not only is he terrorized, you know, it's like there are times here, and I know that other people in my area have talked about it. In the middle of the night, it'll be like one random firework at like 3 a.m. Or like 1 a.m. You know, I'm like, if you live around anybody with a newborn, don't shoot them off. If you live anywhere near a dog, don't shoot them off. And the worst part is that we have a lot of veterans in this area.
Oh, goodness.
That suffer from PTSD. Now, why would you do that? I mean, that's traumatic for them.
Absolutely. That's very triggering.
You know, but public safety goes into so many things. You know, people think of public safety, they think of just crime. And we are having, you know, episodes of crime in our neighborhoods, which will always be a concern.
Right.
But it's much more than that. For example, even though I will be representing the 2nd district, when we're on the council, we have to make decisions that affect either another district or the township as a whole. So you have to know what's going on. So recently in the news, for example, about a month ago, there was a story that came out, and people are witnessing the signs of sinkholes on their property. Now, imagine if somebody had a child that's outside, or a pet that's outside, and something goes wrong. You know, that's a part of public safety.
Right.
You know, I mean, we have people who in certain places in my area that they drag race in the middle of the night. Somebody could be walking out, or like on my street,
Mm-hmm.
it could be simple as a stop sign. People blow through them on my street because my street's like a cut through.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of kids here. One kid chasing after one ball that goes into the
Oh my
street.
goodness.
I
Yeah.
mean, why should we wait until something like that happens? We
Abs-
shouldn't.
Absolutely. I love your preventive thinking.
Well, yeah.
That's great. Yes. But also there's even like the parks,
Hmm.
like beautification of the parks, and I know you're very much into equality and inclusivity
Yes, of
of
course.
groups. So tell us a little bit about that and where you stand.
Well, so when it comes to diversity and inclusion, and we're very good. I mean, Upper Darby itself, the past couple of years have had started having pride events, which are
Hmm.
turning out to be fantastic.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
the council and the township, like they do their flag raising every year. It's been really nice to have that. We have the UDJT, which is the organization that creates the pride events here,
Hmm.
but it's also more. We have a lot of ethnic diversity in the area, so I would love to see, and we've done well so far as having or having community activities and events here, like for Black History Month, or I haven't seen anything yet, but we're just at the beginning. Hispanic History Month doesn't happen until September 15th,
Hmm.
so that's when that starts. But there was an issue where one of the areas, I believe in my particular district, that people were finding flyers for a white supremacist group,
Oh my goodness.
and they were in plastic bags, and they were on the ground with a rock in the bag because it was going to rain. So that way they didn't float away, and they were all over the place.
Oh my
Now, I'm
goodness.
Jewish, so for me, seeing something like that is an issue for me
Oh,
because
yes.
my feeling is in this township, none of that is going to be tolerated.
Uh-huh. Good.
And that's where we have to bring together community efforts, more community policing, and see as far as the emergency crews, whether it's fire, police, EMS, and see
Hmm.
how we can bridge that gap. Number one, what do they need
Hmm.
to combat what's happening? Are they willing to? And make sure that it's totally transparent. Part of the council meetings, they have a half an hour where the public is allowed to voice their concerns. So it's one of those where you want to take those concerns seriously. We want people showing up. We want people being part of their community. I mean,
Hmm.
I know that there is a lot of apprehension all over the country. Like, why bother showing up? They're not going to listen to us. They're not going to do anything. We can't do anything unless we know about it.
Right.
I want more community activity,
Hmm.
when it comes to us and bringing things to our attention. That's the only way things are going to get done.
I agree. And that to me is so practical. You've got to be connected to the community to know what is needed, what
Right.
the needs are. And that is exactly what you're doing. And I love that about you. You're also one of the more um, politically in tune to what is going on, not only in your community, but around your state and around the entire government.
I'm a political junkie, but I have to credit Nathan James for that.
Yes, yes.
Because and I'm sure if any of you have ever watched Drinks with Jess, or obviously if you follow
Mhm.
Tim, you see plenty of pictures of Nathan James. But Nathan is like my sidekick. He
Yep.
is my right hand man when it comes to anything political, local, state, or federal. We probably text each other 200 times a day about something, whether it's the January 6th hearings, or look what's happening in the mayor race of Philadelphia. Like,
Yep.
whatever it is, he is my right hand man, and he does a lot of the research for me. Um, so I can kind of concentrate on figuring out how it's going to fit in here. And I mean, he is just a genius when it comes to data and analysis. And I mean, I could not thank him enough for helping to prepare me, for
Uh,
things like this.
yes, absolutely. Now, one thing you had in your township is or one thing that you're pushing for is accessibility for the disabled and seniors.
Yes.
Is that um, is that a difficult hurdle to jump? Because on the wouldn't that be the responsibility of like store owners and to build ramps or
Correct. It is, but at the same time, there's code enforcement,
right?
right? So code enforcement means people have to. So if people start a business, there's an inspector that comes from the township to make sure
Mhm.
everything's legit, and they do a very good job. But
Good.
there are times where things slip by, or owners don't do what they're supposed to do. You
Hmm.
know, it happens more so also at a state level.
Hmm.
um, like I know a lot of now I'm lucky because in my district, for example, our train accessibility has
Hmm.
ramps. Like our stations have ramps, but in another district in the township, they're not accessible.
Ah, uh-huh.
So that's where local and state government have to work together
Right,
to create
right.
a plan for that.
Uh-huh,
But when it comes to local businesses, because I want local businesses to thrive,
uh-huh.
especially small businesses. I mean,
Yeah,
after the pandemic killed them. After the pandemic, you really want to concentrate on that because they are the pulse of the community. It's
mhm,
not the big companies and the corporate facilities. It's this town is full of local small
mhm,
businesses.
mhm.
So we want to make sure that there is equal and equitable accessibility to all of them.
Right. And the mom and pop shops, they're the backbone. I mean, everything across this country has become so corporate, and I'm sick of it.
I know, right?
I don't necessarily want to go
Listen,
to
I
this.
gave it up when Elon Musk took over Twitter and turned
Yeah,
it into X. That's it. That's when it stopped.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I love like my local pharmacy.
Mhm.
I mean, CVS, Rite Aid, all of that is good, and they've got their point. But I'm tired of those one-stop shops like that. The WalMarts and the
CVS
I
isn't.
much
Oh,
prefer. And something that really freaked me out several years ago. It was probably about 10 or 15 years ago. I was just getting back into filmmaking and performing, and I had went to a party where there was a bunch of like I was in the film with a bunch of younger
mhm.
college students, and some of their friends were there, and I was asking them all like, oh, what are you studying and what do you want to do after graduation? And every one of them said, oh, I want to go work with MIT, I want to go work with this corporation, I want to work with that corporation, I want to work. Not one of them said, I want to open my own business,
I'm gonna tell you
because it
something
was
even
not even
scarier.
in the realm of their of possibility for them in their
Here's
thinking.
here's what's scarier. I know somebody who has a young child. I think probably like 5 or 6 maybe, and when she asked her child, "What do you wanna do when you get older?" She said, "I wanna be a YouTube influencer."
Oh Lord. Oh my god.
That's what they're learning now.
Yes, exactly, and the
And
fame is
mhm,
everything.
and that's scary to hear, but I could tell you as far as the corporate. So last week, I had an issue with my car. Well, I didn't have an issue. It was about 2 weeks ago. I didn't have an issue with my car, but there was a recall that was sent out, so me
Mm,
being, pretty good about things like this. I said, "Okay, well, let me take it over. I'll get it checked out. They fix it for free, whatever." And I have a Hyundai, but you have to take it to a dealership when you do these recalls.
oh,
So I
okay.
took it over to the dealership. They said, "Okay, your car's done." It was about 45 minutes. They said, "Okay, your car's done." I'm I turn it on. I'm pulling it out, and all of a sudden there was nothing wrong with my car, but then my parking warning light was on, my parking brake warning light, and
Oh,
my ABS, which is your anti-lock brake system, which is the recall that I went in for.
oh my
That warning light is on. And he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's going to go away in one drive cycle." Okay. I drove that death trap for 2 weeks. I
oh,
was calling them, nobody would get back to me. When I finally got a hold of somebody, I was yelling at somebody on the phone because at this point, like, it's driving me crazy.
absolutely.
And because this is something that actually causes an engine compartment fire if it goes wrong.
Oh, goodness.
So the one guy was like, "Oh, well, we do everything correctly, and there must be an underlying issue with your car. So when you bring it in, if there's something wrong, you're gonna have to pay for it. I said, I'm not paying for
Oh,
crap. 'Cause you know how I am, Tim.
yeah, right.
You're right. I tell them where it is. So I finally got a chance to bring it back in. And the guy said, I'm sorry about that. It was installed incorrectly. I said, so I was driving this thing around. And now I usually go to a private mechanic who I have been with for years. Years. He would not have made that mistake.
Right.
But the big corporations,
my goodness,
that drove me crazy.
Oh my God.
But I mean, we have to thrive on small businesses. I mean, that's where, I mean, growing up in Lancaster, I mean, we were always going to like the local deli, the local bagel shop, the local, I mean, that's what you do. And you know them because they're a part of your community.
Right. Exactly.
And they do more for the community than the corporations do.
Absolutely.
And we see this also with the LGBT. And I know that you would agree with this. When we have pride parades, they like to show up and have their big floats and their big banners.
Yeah. The corporations do. However, they
Yep.
take their flags down the day after.
They do. But it's the small local organizations that really support us.
Absolutely.
So we have to support them.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, thank God nothing happened to you with the car. My goodness.
My office is 2 miles away. I'm good.
My goodness. But the I'm trying to move into more of the health concerns and which tell me about the hospital. What is going on there with the hospital?
We don't have one.
Oh my.
No. So what has been happening, and it's been happening in various places throughout the United States. There are companies that say they are about staffing hospitals, and they're private companies, and they buy up certain hospitals, especially in underprivileged areas, which we are. And it's kind of like having a chop shop for a car, right? So Delaware County Memorial, and this is more of a state issue, but it does affect our local constituents. But obviously, that is not my jurisdiction with the hospital situation. But they ended up not paying the bills for the hospital. But what they do primarily is they buy up these hospital in underprivileged areas because the people who go there are usually on things like Medicaid or Medicare, which means they think they're getting an instant paycheck. So obviously that's something that is of a concern. Now, what is also a concern is that we need to make sure that locally our township emergency services are intact, because without that, constituents have to travel outside of the area for a level 1 trauma, for example.
Right.
And when you have violence, or if somebody has a sinkhole and a kid falls into it, well, we need our local emergency services, the township emergency services, to be able to have the manpower to make sure that those people are taken care of. So it's really a fine line between local and state, and we don't really cross lines, but we can work together to create a situation or to create a resolution.
Yeah, I was going to say there needs to be some type of cooperation.
Absolutely.
Because, again, it's the community that is suffering right now. It's the community that needs this. They need this to be resolved, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, it happened to, I think there were 2 hospitals maybe 1 or 2 hospitals in Connecticut that the same company did this to, but again, that's a state issue. But when it comes to the local, this is where we have to beef up our emergency systems on the local level to make sure that if that's not there, that care can still be done in a timely fashion. Because I mean, depending on what happens, if you have, we had a 16-year-old the other day, and it didn't happen in this township. He's from this township, but it happened in Philadelphia, and he was shot. But if that happened in our area, we need to make sure that our local ambulance or EMTs or firefighters or cops can be like 100% on the roll if it happened right here. Right.
My goodness. I mean, that's scary.
It is.
Not having it not having a hospital facility at your disposal, because in situations like that, timing is everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Now, I know that these are very diverse times. They're very divided. The whole political spectrum. Um, how do you bridge that gap? Like, with like, what would you like your Republican constituents to know about you?
Mm. Well, I've already, I mean, obviously with my job, I've already worked with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And my one neighbor, or actually two of my neighbors, are registered Republicans, but they're definitely going to vote for me because they
Uh-huh.
know me.
Right.
The thing is, no matter what happens, it, if your child gets hurt, or if you get hurt, or if you have a concern, it doesn't matter what party you are,
Mm-hmm.
because if one person has that concern, then there are going to be other people who have that concern as well. Whether
Right.
it's in your neighborhood or on your street or in your school, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If a sinkhole forms, it doesn't care what political party you are. You
Absolutely.
need somebody who's going to look and have a way to implement some kind of resolution to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my mind, for the Republican voters out there, you need a council person who's going to help everybody and who's going to be there and listen to everybody, because just because you're a Republican doesn't mean that there's not a Democrat or an independent or somebody else that doesn't have the same issue.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's how I see it. I mean, people are people. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I know what my beliefs are. I know what my opinions are. I know everybody has the right to have their own opinions. But when it comes to a problem, one problem affects everybody.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So, can you please pet your campaign manager Nacho for me?
He never comes into my office, but he actually came in now,
Oh,
and
he
he's
probably heard
laying on the
the
floor.
voice.
No, you're on my headphones, but
Oh,
he
okay.
is. Yeah, he's laying
Oh, okay.
in
Well, be
front of the
sure to
desk right now.
give him a hug and a kiss from me.
He loves you.
I love Nacho. He's the coolest thing. Now, where did you come up with your slogan? I love your slogan.
Which one? Say yes to Jess?
Say yes to Jess.
Well, you know what? So Nathan had come up with that, but the funny thing is, I was at a meeting just to get everything filled out and ready to roll for my candidacy. And one of the guys there on the committee said, "Say yes to Jess." I was like, now I have a another friend that I ran into the other day, and you know how I just kind of, my mouth kind of goes sometimes. I was like that guy was being such a dick. She's like, "You need a t-shirt that says don't be a Richard." Vote for Jess. Don't be a Richard, vote for Jess. And I actually might make one.
I like that.
You can't be stuffy about it. We're all people. We all know how we think and we speak. I mean, nothing changes the fact. It's just the fact that I am your normal everyday person who
Mhm.
cares and who gives a shit about what happens here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I am so grateful that you have stepped up to the plate and you are doing this,
Thank
because
you.
our country needs more people like you, people who care about their community, people who it's not about necessarily position or the fame like we were talking earlier or anything like that.
I've had fame already. I'm over that.
Right. But it's the job of trying to better your environment and your community
Yeah.
and the people in it.
It's a shame that not as many people as I would have thought
Hmm.
step up to things.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know if people are afraid to try. I don't know if being in just government in general,
Hmm.
for the past amount of time, they're all people.
Yes.
They're not, and I've been around celebrities, I've been around this, but you know what? No matter what, they're all people. They all have a story. They were all born. They all had to go to school. They all,
Hmm.
we're not that much different. They are not, and those who are in positions that think they are high and mighty, you're not.
Right. Right. I agree.
You're in there for the wrong reason at that point.
Well, once again, down below is where you can make a donation to Jess's campaign. And again, you don't have to be in her district to make a donation.
Absolutely. And you know what? Every dollar counts. It could be $1,
Mhm.
$5, $10. It doesn't have to be what is said on there. You can put in your own amount. It's just, whatever gets us across that plate. We're making history
Mhm.
with this one.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And more herstory is going to continue to be made.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Don't be a Richard. I can't get over that. I love that because it's totally my type of humor.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. That's so Jess. That is so Jess. Well, again, just for the viewing audience, I have to tell you that Jess is one of the most politically aware person that I know. She knows exactly what's going on and what needs to be done. I highly recommend everyone in Upper Darby to cast your vote for Jess. Say yes to Jess. Don't be a Richard.
Don't be a Richard. I know it. You know what? It never gets old.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jess, any parting words that you would like to say?
No, I'm very thankful that, because my podcast is going to come out of hiatus soon. So I'm very
Mhm.
happy that after these months of rest, that you are the first person that I'm sharing the mic with.
Oh,
I am very, very honored and very blessed. And, you do so much for your community up there in New York and all over, and with all your shows going through. I don't know how you handle the Midwest. I mean, I would not. You can't pay $1 million to me to go to the Midwest right now. Or even Florida, and I used to live in Florida. I mean, but
mhm.
not right now. That's on my Ixnay list.
Yep, yep.
But I value everything for all these years that you've brought to the community, and
Oh,
bringing
thank
that exposure out there, because
you.
it's
Mhm.
people like you that have that platform where people like me can make sure that we make a change.
Mhm. Well, we all make a change together.
That's it.
That's how I see it. Jess Branas, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your views and your hopes and your dreams and everything that's going on with you. We are so grateful.
Thank you so
Um,
much. I love you.
I love you too. And to everyone out there, just this week, be sure to tell all the people in your life that you truly love that you do love them. Give them a hug, give them a kiss, because when you send out love in this world, it makes it a much, much better place to live. So, till next week, this is Tym Moss from Artists Exposed with Tym Moss saying have a wonderful week, and just deep gratification for my wonderful and incredible guest, the fabulous Jess Branas.
Thank you. Love you, Tim.
Love you too. Thank you.